Good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. This is the Cottonwood Heights City Council business meeting. My name is Mike Wickers, and I am the mayor of our city. We're going to start this evening with a pledge of allegiance led by our District 1 Council member, Matt Holden. Thank you, Councilmember Holden. Before we move on to item number 3, I wanted to do just a quick recognition. So, towards the beginning of the fall, I don't know the exact date, our longtime city treasurer is going to be retiring, and we have made a hire of what we're going to call for now a deputy treasurer to learn under Dave, and he is here with us tonight. His name is Reed Sanderson. Reed, hi, and your wife is Amber. Hi, Amber. We're thrilled that you're here, and we're looking forward to getting to know you on a more personal basis.
Mayor, can I say I believe you came from South Jordan. Is that correct? So Mayor Don Ramsey of South Jordan ran into her and she said, "What are you guys doing? You're stealing one of our best employees from South Jordan." So anyway, welcome.
Well, you're at a better place, Reed. So don't tell Don I said that, but yeah. So item number 3 on our agenda is once a month, we give the city council the opportunity to discuss some of the initiatives that they're working on, some of the committees that they attend, and what those priorities that they talk about are. So we're going to start with, I'm going to go backwards. We're going to start with Council District 4 and go to Council Member Ellen Burrell.
Well, I am going to start with the extraordinary Public Works event that went on. It was an inaugural event for Public Works. Matt Shipp and his staff put together a field trip program for the Canyon View Elementary students, and it was fantastic. I think everyone in our city should get a chance to go through the 6 stations over at the new Public Works complex. Each of the staff was divided out. The kids got to see, these are 5th graders, they got to see the fleet and learn all the names of the different vehicles in the fleet. They got to paint their name on a snowplow. They then went and learned about engineering from Adam Ginsberg, the difference between a mechanical engineer and a civil engineer, and they all got to build marshmallow bridges in teams and compete with one another who had the strongest bridge. They learned about storm drains and the stormwater system in Cottonwood Heights. Anyways, I'm going on and on because it was absolutely fantastic, and I understand Kim, who is the administrative person for Matt Shipp and the Public Works, masterminded much of it, and then everybody executed it. It was marvelous. I also continue to serve on a number of committees, and I don't think I have anything real earth-shaking to report on those committees. I will soon be joining the CWC. That'll be next month, when Mayor Wickers has served 4 years on the board of the Central Wasatch Commission, and he is now going to step away and allow me to serve on that board. And I look forward to representing the transportation needs, in particular, of the residents of Cottonwood Heights, and see if we can't get the CWC to do even a little more to help alleviate a lot of our challenges along the state routes. I also want to announce that on June 26th, I will be leading a kind of an educational session for anyone that would like to join in. We're going to start over near Alpha Coffee and ride or walk or roll along the new neighborhood byway that goes from roughly, again, Alpha Coffee, westward to the rec center, and particularly talk about the bike lanes and the configuration of bike lanes. I think we all know that there's new legislation that came out of our last legislative session that pertains to motor vehicle, so motorists not blocking, bike lanes, either by driving in them or by parking in them. And so I think it'll be a fun and educational hour and a half. I'm going to start at 6:30 p.m. And if you'd like to join in, that's June 26th. And I guess with the buzzard going off, I'll keep it brief. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Burrow. From Council District 3, we have Councilmember Sean Newell.
Wonderful. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. I am in my quiet period with most of the organizations that I'm participating with. I serve on the Canyons Foundation Board, and right now with school coming to an end, our teachers are trying to get their sanity back and are just trying to release themselves from the students. My daughter's a sixth grade teacher, and she's given me a step-by-step synopsis of how they try to revamp and get their mindset back in order once they release all these kids to the summertime. But with that foundation, as we go into the new year, there are a number of projects that are going to be coming up that hopefully we can get the community more involved with, so that we can also not just engage our district, but engage the students and our teachers and our administrators within the Canyon School District. So I'll be reaching out and calling on folks here in these meetings to, first of all, give you information about those opportunities, and then imploring you to, give a little time, volunteer, and participate. I serve on the South Valley Chamber board as well. And there, the South Valley Chamber is growing very quickly. And what we're doing is looking to continue to engage the businesses within each of our different communities. And here in Cottonwood Heights, we have a number of businesses, especially small businesses, that we really want to pull into that. So if you know small businesses or if you own a small business, please consider joining the South Valley Chamber and becoming a part of the good work that's taking place there. The Arts Council, I think they're rehearsing behind us, but we've got the Percy Jackson, The Lightning Thief coming up, and the rehearsals are going on continuously now. It's going to be a great production. It's a production that people kind of think, it's going to be too difficult for a city like Cottonwood Heights, but we've accomplished other great things, especially with our Arts Council in bringing great entertainment to our community members. So take a look at that this summer. I think the performances are in July. I don't remember the exact dates right now, but keep your eyes open for that event coming up. Other than that, I'm going to leave some more time for someone else. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Newell. From Council District 2, we have Councilmember Suzanne Highland.
Thank you. I've got everything's great news to report. I serve on the Health in the Heights Committee. I'm so impressed by the members that they are adding. This can be a committee of up to 25 very dedicated volunteers, from physicians, community nurses, coaches in our community. It's humbling to see how much service they are willing to give to our city to improve health in our community. One of the recent things that we just did was, in conjunction with Girls on the Run, we did a Canyon View Elementary event where we had an opportunity to talk to parents and kids about avoiding underage drinking, about something that's called Real Day, which we encourage parents, kids, turn off all the screens one day a month and just experience real life. That was well received. I'm really pleased that we're getting ourselves out there in the community and starting to talk about some things that could improve things for our youth, particularly in our city. I also wanted to mention that there's a suicide prevention training on June 11th. Many of the committee was able to participate in that training previously. This is something that you need to know before you actually have somebody in your life who might be contemplating suicide. It tells you how to talk to them, and more importantly, if you can get them to a point where they are calm enough and will commit to being safe with you, what do you do now? And so part of that training is it gives you all of the resources that you can reach out to keep that person safe and to get them the help that they need. I wanted to also, I was going to mention the Public Works, that day was so much fun with the fifth graders. I don't know, Matt Ship, how you all recovered yesterday, but that was quite fun and chaotic. They built bridges with spaghetti noodles and marshmallows. And I observed that more marshmallows went in the mouths than actually on the bridges. That was just a lot of fun to participate in. So I commend you for reaching out in our community. That's another thing that actually improves, health in our community, is that students see how much we care and what we do. And I would probably maybe do modeling clay next year instead of marshmallows, but it was still a ton of fun. And then they allowed them to paint the snow plows, and that'll be interesting to see in our city too. Blades, sorry, not the plows, the blades. You might want to stencil Canyon View Elementary on those so that they see that it's not just graffitied that we let somebody come and do. That was a ton of fun. I also serve on the CH2 committee, which is the coordinating committee with the Rec Center District, and happy to tell you that on May 24th, the pools and the splash pads will open. That's always fun to have the summer activities commence. Butlerville Days is July 24th through 26th, and it's our 20th year anniversary. It's going to be so much fun to celebrate. There is a pickleball tournament that is categories for ages 14 and up. The registration opens June 1st, and that's why I wanted to mention it. You can register. And there's also going to be a free community learn to pickleball clinic that will be on Friday, July 18th, and that registration will open July 1st. Lastly, I just want to mention that I appreciate our council and the difficult discussions that we've have and continue to have about short-term rentals. There's a committee that has worked very diligently to study all sides of this. We are not at a point of a policy agreement yet because the various issues are so complex. There's so many competing desirable outcomes. And we just appreciate all of the feedback that we've gotten from our residents, as well as the help that we've gotten from neighboring cities about how to best approach this. So we will continue working on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Highland. And from Council District 1, Councilmember Matt Holton.
Well, Councilwoman Heinley gets to talk about marshmallows and Butlerville Days, and I get to talk to you about trash. So let's jump into that. Harriman City is part of Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling. You've got Immigration Canyon, Harriman City, you've got Taylorsville, Cottonwood Heights, Holiday. Harriman City, as of this last board meeting that we had on Monday, gave notice to Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling that they're going to ask for permission to leave the district. Now, the reason that I bring that up is we've had residents who have talked or brought up the fact that there are private companies, ACE Waste Management and others, that provide trash pickup for other municipalities, including Sandy City is contracted with waste management. I think we're probably going to get more people that are going to ask the question, why doesn't Cottonwood Heights look at doing that as well and seeing if we can save some money for some folks? What I'm going to encourage my colleagues and folks in the city is we've got to see how this plays out with Harriman City for a couple reasons. One, they're going to approach Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling, the board, and ask for their permission to leave. Each board member has to vote to allow them to leave. I made it clear, I don't know if I want a bunch of other cities dictating our own destiny should we decide to leave a special service district. So I am inclined to be supportive of them leaving. That being said, the district has purchased about 6 garbage trucks for Harriman City as of late, which they're about 400,000, I think, is the last figures that we were given. So they might be handed a bill from the special service district of about $2.4 million that they need to pay back with that financial liability that they have. They also are paying about $5 million into Transjordan landfill to be able to buy into that. So there's a lot of heavy financial decisions that are being made for them to leave and go down their own path. They do believe in the end that it will be more beneficial to the residents. And what I would encourage us to do is let's let them go throughout that process. Let's see if that actually is true. And of course, no question, if that is true and it does pan out to to happen that way, then it obviously would be something I'd advocate for, of asking our folks to at least look out and see if we couldn't get some numbers, if that is something that is affordable. They're calculating for it to be a decrease of $6 per resident per month. Is what the savings they believe they will achieve, though that won't really be seen to the city after about 5 years after they pay off some of these liabilities that they've got to take care of up front. So just letting you know, as folks bring that up, and I'm sure we'll see people chatting saying, hey, Harriman City's trying to leave, why don't we leave? There's going to be a process. Let's see what the financial hit is to them and if it makes sense for us at a later date.
I'd really like if it was
Please.
shared. My understanding is that the Transjordan landfill is reaching its maximum. Do you talk about that, what the projection is for when that Transjordan landfill will have maxed out, and then the trash will have to be trucked all the way down to southern Provo? Do you ever talk about that?
Yeah, so, and I asked that question, but Harriman City seemed pretty confident that as they buy into that landfill, that there's going to be a 70-year lifespan for them for that landfill. How that all works and how that actually pencils, we haven't gotten into. Obviously, that's something that they've had to look into. But for us, I do know, for instance, our green waste, if for instance, in Harriman, if you have green waste there, yes, they are actually having to transport that to Salt Lake City on the west side. So there are capacity issues. Now, I don't know if that $5 million buy-in, I haven't been part of those discussions, if they're doing some sort of expansion or improvements or things to gain some life. I'm not sure.
So it's not that Harriman is going to have its own landfill?
No.
Okay.
They're buying into, yeah.
Thank you, Councilmember Holton. I'm just going to add a couple of things. At this time of year, I have a couple of things that I get to do that are highlights for me. One is I get to go with our city manager and a member of the Board of Education and give out Teacher of the Year awards to all of our schools. So I get to go to all of our elementary schools and to our junior high and our high school. And it's honestly been a highlight for me. It's amazing we get to walk into the classroom and we kind of observe the teacher for a little bit. And it's amazing some of the amazing teachers that we have in Canyon School District and our schools here within Cottonwood Heights. And it's a fun opportunity for me to award somebody who obviously is doing a good job, and parents and kids are the ones who vote on it. And so they're being recognized as being a great teacher. I also get to attend the high school graduation. I do that every year. I get to sit up on the stage and in a gown, and that's kind of a fun little thing. And then shake hands of all these kids that are getting ready to go put themselves into the world. And I find that a fascinating experience every year. And anyway, I'm excited. I think we have an amazing high school and amazing kids that are doing amazing things. And so I'm super excited to support that. Along that same line, you might have noticed Canyon School District announced that they are in the midst of a study due to declining enrollment. And a couple of schools within our boundaries, elementary schools, are being looked at for potential closure. Now that this is, I think there's a total of 12 to 15, something like that on their list. They'll only end up closing 2 or 3 of those, but there is an elementary school specifically due to declining enrollment that is going to be looked at very closely. We understand the sensitivity of that type of a thing because we love our schools. We love the kids that get to go to there, the teachers, the principals. We have close relationships with them. But I did at least want to put that on our citizens' radar that that's currently happening. Okay, item number 4 on our agenda is a citizen comment period. We've got a few cards, so I'm just going to give a little bit of background. This is a time for each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak. Please review the comment procedures on the last page of the agenda. If you haven't filled out a speaker card yet, do so and hand it to somebody and they can get it to me. When making comments, please speak into the microphone so that your comments can be recorded. Give your name and please avoid insulting language or comments. The audience should also avoid expressions of support or disagreement, such as clapping or hissing. so that speakers will feel safe to express their thoughts. The council's here to listen, but this isn't a setting where you'll get us to engage in a back and forth dialogue. So if you do have questions, we will reach out to you. Staff will reach out to you within a few business days. The first, yes. Yes. So I do not have any distinction on the current comment cards, but we do have a public hearing. If you are here for the public hearing, which is to address the annexations of a couple of areas off of Creek Road, please mention that when I call your name, and we'll have you hold off until that public hearing. The first comment card I have for tonight is Cynthia Blair. Hi, Cynthia.
Hi, this feels really familiar, everybody. I have to say, you guys really have a lot of stamina. I sat through that other meeting and I don't know how you keep going. For those of you who are new, I'm here to comment on project ZMA-25002, which is the zoning amendment that's being proposed by Mr. Nash for the property at 3526 East Fort Union Boulevard. So as these other people know, 3 years ago, we went through this before. And I live at 7183 South McIntosh Lane, which is the property just west of where the proposed development is. So it's right on the west. Our house is a very modest, single family resident. And about 3-4 years ago, we built an accessory dwelling unit there for my mother, who's 92 years old. So it's not a duplex, it's a single family home. The proposal to rezone the property was denied, as I said, 3 years ago, because the residents in the area didn't want high density housing. And we kind of went through the neighborhood, talked to people, and we had nearly 90 people sign a petition saying that they didn't want the higher density residents. There are several duplexes in the area, which is one argument that Mr. Nash has used for putting more in the area. And my neighbors, for the most part, are really concerned about those. Many of them are short-term rentals or ski rentals, and oftentimes are not kept up very well. The neighbors that I've talked to have said that if the property next door to us is made just single-family residence, people can put accessory dwelling units in there, which would make the total number of dwellings the same. However, the difference between that and a duplex is the owner needs to live on the property, and it's much less likely that they would be a short-term rental, more likely for a family member. And the feeling is that those residences would be kept up better and better maintained. But I would like to thank Mr. Nash for taking into consideration some of our other concerns. And these are, if I heard him correctly, he spoke in a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and he said that he is willing to place the duplex closest to our property, 25 feet from our property line, which is, we really appreciate that offer a lot, because our yard is really shallow, and from our end of our house to our property line, there's not much room. I suspect since it was built in the 1980s, maybe the setbacks were different, so it probably wouldn't conform to code now. So the 25-foot setback would be really appreciated by us. In fact, when we were trying to put in the ADU and getting the approval for all of that, we had to look around to try to find a plan that would fit in that narrow, shallow property. Another concern that we had that he addressed was the issue of 6 driveways exiting out on Fort Union. And I know that when it was presented in the last meeting, they talked about this. So the plan for him to put the driveways in the back and have the cars exit onto that lane to the east would really ameliorate that concern that we have of cars from 6 units in that short space exiting onto Fort Union Boulevard. So we see his current proposal is much safer for both the vehicles and the pedestrians. He also said that he would have an HOA for the development, which would probably mitigate the concerns that people have about the property being kept up. He has put in some duplexes along Bengal Boulevard that seem to be kept up and are very nice. And we very much appreciate all of these concessions. However, there are still people in our neighborhood who are very much against having the higher density property. They would prefer to have single-family residences because they're concerned that the properties will still be rented out. My request is that when the council votes on this, I have to really give my thanks to Ellen Burrell because she brought this up in the meeting. But I feel really strongly that these concessions need to be promises that need to be kept because we've had, as you all know, situations in the city where developers have made certain promises and then not followed through on them. But if there is some kind of way that he can be held to these promises, we would feel a lot more comfortable about this higher density housing. And so if that's the case, we wouldn't be terribly opposed, but there are still many people in the neighborhood who have seen the effects of rental properties and duplexes that haven't been kept up, that have lots of traffic around them, and they still feel strongly that they don't want that high density housing. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for considering this, and it's good to see you guys again. Thanks.
Thanks, Cynthia. Kind of deja vu a little bit. I have to admit, yeah, no. Okay, the next comment card we have is for our representative from the legislature, Galen Benyon. Hi, Galen.
Hi, it's nice to be here. I just want to also thank you for all your hard work. I was able to attend the work session, and I'd like to give you my report. One of the things that I am working on at the state level is the strategic statewide housing plan that the governor's office is leading. So phase 1 of that was released in January, and we're working on phase 2. And I'm on several working groups because I know housing is so important for our state that we need to address affordable, attainable housing. And so I just want to also thank the council for addressing short-term rentals. Our citizens brought me into this work back in like 2022, and it's just so important. One of the things that was raised in the work meeting is that displacement could happen if licenses are given. Well, the displacement is already happening. And so I appreciate Council Member Hyland bringing this to the council and recognizing that unless we have licensing and bring people out from the shadows, that it won't get any better for our city. It will just get worse with the Olympics and things coming. The things that I would like to say is I definitely recommend a pilot and definitely recommend those data companies that you can hire to get a list and verify who has the short-term rentals. And then I recommend that you look at the bill that I sponsored in 223, because I worked with a national expert who teaches in our universities. And what she would say is, you will have fewer short-term rentals if you will raise the bar. As your city gives these licenses, that you tell what is required to get a license, that you say to have a license in Cottonwood Heights, you need to go and have an education course. You need to have, if you're not operating and living locally to operate that short-term rental, that whoever is needs to live within a certain amount, within an hour's travel time or something, and that person should go get a license from the city that can be revoked if there are problems that person doesn't handle. So there are things that the city can do in requiring, because these are businesses. Our fellow people are making money, and we should treat this like a business and have high requirements that then the less engaged owners will drop out. Maybe they'll do long-term rentals. And my final recommendation after looking at this for several years is to have the city consider having licenses for long-term rentals, because then you'll have a better idea of what's happening in that direction. And again, I thank you all. You do a tremendous work, and we all appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks, Galen. Okay, the next comment card is from John Owens.
Hello.
Hi,
Hello,
John.
Mayor and Council. I'm here to talk about what Mayor Wickers brought up about the school consolidation study. Now, if you look at the website for Canyons, it does still show Oakdale and Bella Vista, but originally on May 13th, they sent a message from Parent Square that did include Butler Elementary, Canyon View Elementary, Ridgecrest Elementary, and Butler Middle. So maybe they made it past round one. I don't know which one's more current. So it's definitely something to keep in mind, and this is very relevant to the STR discussion. KUTV2 News right now, Granite School District is considering closing 10 elementaries on the east. And they've also, closed, I believe, 10 others since 2019. Last year, Salt Lake closed 4, one of which was the M. Lynn Benyon, Hawthorne, Mary Jackson and Riley. 2022, Sandy consolidated Bellevue and Edgemont. I went to school here. My kid goes to school here. I looked through his memory book, which is like the yearbook, all the grades in school. It is shrinking. It is shrinking fast. One of the second grade teachers, they're moving to 4th grade because they don't need her. Utah had a lot of kids, so we might be hit harder with this, especially with our increased costs. And Butler already made one of the lists, so I'm sure Butler Middle and Brighton High will be coming down the lane. I don't know why they moved 6th grade to the middle school. I don't know if that was kind of a staffing thing, so it's definitely coming. 2025, I believe Granite closed Orchard and Redwood. 23, I believe they closed Twin Peaks, Spring Lane, and Mill Creek. Mount View in 05 got changed to a park. Cottonwood Heights Elementary in 05, they got rid of that. We're going to lose housing, we're going to lose families, we're going to lose schools, we're going to lose more families, we're going to lose future families, we're going to lose more schools. It's just going to be a doom loop. And, I'm just here to say, the school thing's a big concern. I can't imagine what a city without kids is going to be like, but it's like I always said before, either Canyon View will take over the cemetery or the cemetery will take over Canyon View. But I'm here to say, protect housing, no short-term rentals. Like families want to own if they can afford it. They'll rent if they have to, but they're not going to rent like short-term. There was one of the 1st grade teachers rented an ADU in my neighborhood. So, and that's another concern too. Right now, I guess the students is the big concern. Something San Fran has like 15% kids. West Valley and I think West Jordan have like 30%. Who's going to work at Chick-fil-A and some of these other jobs? They're still in Cottonwood Heights, and it's just, I don't know. It's wild to think, and we're in unprecedented times. And housing costs, the district did cite that as a contributing factor. So, right here, I'm looking right across at Broughton High School. We got the 2 Butlers down there. So, and then a lot of times it's about size and age and renovation. So, and, if you tell the district, you're still not doing short-term rentals, that might get you some grace. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, Maggie Mills. Hi, Maggie.
Hi, how are y'all doing? Thanks for letting me come and tell you about the library. I'm Maggie Mills. I'm manager at the Whitmore branch, Salt Lake County Library. And the big news is summer reading starts June 2nd, but a week from this Friday on the 30th of May is the big kickoff party. Whitmore is one of the locations. There are 4 around the county. And it's just going to be a big party. So from 5 to 8 p.m., there will be live music, a bubble dance party, probably face painting, crafts, signing up for summer reading, of course, and activities both inside the library and outside. And we hope everyone can come. We are a pickup location for the Read to Swim coloring reading trackers with the Cottonwood Heights Rec Center. So if you haven't picked one up yet, or your little hasn't picked one up yet, come on by. They're still available. And the very beginning of June, we have a puppet show on the 6th, a petting zoo on the 12th, and a magic show on the 18th. So there's a lot going on, and be sure to check our calendar, and which is in the newsletter. Thank you so much. And that's all for now. Thank you.
Awesome. Love it. Thank you, Maggie. We love these updates. Keep coming. Okay, the next comment card I have is for Annie Agardi, or sorry, did I get it? Wow, okay.
Thanks, you guys. I just have a few comments concerning, I live in Ellen's district on top of the world, and I have a few comments concerning Wasatch and the speeds of traffic, and inversely the no speeds of traffic on certain days. And while I understand this is probably more of a UDOT issue, I just wanted to make my comments known to the council that on days in the winter now, as you all know, when Little Cottonwood is closed, the road is completely locked up. And this winter, I walk my dog down to the park there by the fire station. And one day I observed at least 2 people get out of their cars looking for a place to go to the bathroom. And the bathroom is not a winter bathroom in the park. And therefore people are behind trees. So I did witness that on one occasion. I assume that happens more than what I witnessed. I know what Sandy has done on 9400 South. They don't let people park on 9400 South. You can't do it. It's a right of way. They push people all the way down Wasatch. I don't know if that's something that can be looked at here to alleviate the deadlock traffic on powder mornings. I mean, sometimes it goes on for 3 hours if they don't open that road till 11 o'clock. And inversely, the speeds when the road isn't impeded by ski traffic, pulling out of our neighborhood, either taking a left off Golden Hills going south on Wasatch, or taking a right off Kings Hill onto Wasatch, people are coming around that corner, or also taking a right at the swamp lot and going south. People come around the corner going 50 plus miles an hour, and they're right on your tail, giving you attitude just for trying to pull out of your neighborhood. And I know, again, it's a UDOT issue, but I really feel the speeds on that corridor between the high T and say the swamp lot or even Bengal should be controlled at say 35 miles an hour. It would add 30 seconds to people's commutes going home. So those are my comments for you guys. And thanks for all the work you guys do.
Thank you for your comments. Appreciate it. Mickey Harris. Hi, Mickey.
Hi, I'm just going to move the stool over for a second.
I kind of thought I'd dream of Jeannie. Did anybody else kind of remember that?
Oh, yeah. I also got Goldie Hawn when I was, I don't know why, but anyway, I was going for Goldie Hawn. I know. No. Mickey Harris. I just want to talk about, of course, my passion, road design and safety. And regarding Fort Union and Wasatch Boulevard, Councilman Newell, thank you for bringing up Fort Union. And I don't know, I know this isn't a question and answer, but if the citizens get access to some of those numbers for that traffic study, that would be awesome, just to have the transparency of what's going on. And I truly just believe that if we can just slow it down, we're going to rely on that foot traffic and cyclists to support those local businesses going into that city center, and it will not survive without slowing down that road. And I appreciate Matt Shipp acknowledging that the 85th percentile rule is really outdated. We need to design roads for all users, not just what we feel comfortable driving. And so that's how we kind of have to reshape Cottonwood Heights. As far as Wasatch and Fort Union go, I appreciate you sitting on these councils with UDOT. It's very important to me that we don't turn Wasatch Boulevard into a freeway, which I think it can easily be, and that we don't make mistakes like curbing the bike lane. You know, we had the $60 million that we were going to spend for this, and we're already over budget. And you know, I just think about kind of the mistakes of just not planning and seeing the vision that we waste money on. And you know, now we kind of, I'm glad UDOT is working on mending that bike lane that, you know, lets us get through, because we all know when the weather gets warmer, Wasatch becomes a mecca for cyclists. So it makes it about impossible. And I encourage to just a thought, you know, it's a different beast. Wasatch is more comparable to national parks because of the volume, that we just get creative. And I still support, and I know Russo was not, you know, saying that we couldn't, but even just queuing in the turn lane on our ski mornings to let local traffic get through is an idea, just thinking outside the box. These kind of things that will help us. And also underpasses instead of overhead. I hope we're still not talking about overhead pedestrian crossings. That just makes it feel like a freeway. And in the summer, we do have a lot of, it becomes like a race strip for motorcyclists and fancy cars. So now that school's out in session, I would love to see a little more, you know, enforcement up on Wasatch as we become grease lightning, you know, coming down down Wasatch. So anyway, I appreciate all that you're doing. Just wanted to say thanks, but I think just little bites incrementally, we can hopefully change Conwood Heights for the better.
Thanks, Vicki. Appreciate it. Okay, Runar Bowman. Hi, Runar.
Mayor Wickers and council. I actually have some positive news today. I don't know how much the council had to do with this, but I wanted to mention about Centawave, the internet provider. You know, I just want to thank you guys for making that happen because, and I did a 180 on my opinion on Centawave. I mean, my wife and I, we work basically remote. So for us, internet is life, and reliable internet is the most important thing of all. And you know, for years we've been struggling with that, and it's been really annoying because we run teams all day long, and to have that go out during an important time is not good. So you know, I've been looking and researching internet providers, you know, for years, and you know, kind of having this Google envy and all this stuff, and understand why that didn't happen. But you know, so last fall I was outside, and this gentleman walked up, and he had a flyer, and his name was Brian. He's from Centawave, and I got into talking to him, and talked to him a lot, like for like an hour, and he really sold me. I was excited about it. Some weeks later, they came down and did the install of the main trunk lines down our street, and you're right. There's no trenching. It was invasive. It wasn't invasive at all. Hardly when they were finished, you didn't even know they even were there. Pretty impressive, I must say. And then, you know, early this year, they came back and brought a line right to my house, put a little box on the wall and brought it inside the house. And there's a gentleman who helped me get everything set up. And I went out and bought this three unit mesh system on Amazon for what's called the router. You know, they're not one box anymore, they're three now. So put them around my house, rock solid connection, just dialed in, it's perfect. No problems whatsoever. $65 a month. I mean, you know, my goodness, it's great. So we're saving money, and the connection is just flawless. And that bringing that line into our property, again, you never know they even were there. So nothing but good things to say about Centawave. They're very professional, very helpful. The service is outstanding. Don't miss Google whatsoever. So I would highly recommend people checking out Centawave. I think it's the best option out there for our city. And again, if you guys had anything to do with it, thanks for taking a risk with them because it really paid off big time. Thank you.
Thanks, Runar. So I'll actually just give a little bit of context on that. So I actually text our Centawave contact within the last week or two just to say, hey, you know, the goal was to get to everybody in our city sooner than looks like it's going to happen. And he said, hey, the reason that they've gone a little bit slower is if they do the whole project, there's some grants that have become available for them to help on the build out. And so they have applied for those grants and slowed down the process because otherwise they would not be able to get the grant money back if they just did it all at once. So that is the reason for the slowdown from Centawave. But I have also gotten comments like Runar's consistently about the Centawave customer service and getting in the product functioning at a real high level. So
Do we have a sense of when they will be able to get into some of the outerlying areas? I know in District 4, I have residents that are telling me they're, yeah, really hungry for, and Centawave hasn't gotten there.
just that they're waiting for some grants to be awarded.
So are we a year away, or do they have any sense
They
at all?
told me months.
Months?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you. Do we have any comments online that we need to put into the record?
Yeah, there were, sorry, there were two submitted that were forwarded on to you, one regarding the traffic on Wasatch and another one regarding the land use applications on.
Great. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the citizen comment period. We're going to move on to item 5 on our agenda. We have 2 separate public hearings scheduled. The first one is item 5.1, a hearing on the proposed annexation of the Creek Road West annexation area. I do not currently have any comment cards. Is there anybody that would like to publicly comment on this Creek Road West annexation? Not seeing anyone. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing for item 5.1. And also at the same time recognize Councilmember Highland for all of her amazing work. And I know there are a lot of people happy in the Creek Road West area. Item 5.2 is a public hearing on the proposed annexation of the Water Vista Way annexation area. And we'll open a public hearing for that item. I also don't have any comment cards. Anybody that would like to comment on the Water Vista Way annexation? This Water Vista Way is going to follow a different process than the Creek Road West. And so we need to keep this public hearing open. So we are going to continue it until our June 17th meeting. So people will still be able to public comment then. And we'll move on. So item 6 on our agenda, we have 2 quarterly reports. We look forward each quarter to hearing from our departments. And this month we're going to hear from, I see Riley's face on the screen, so we're doing good. So we're going to hear from our Chief Pilgrim from Unified Fire, and we'll start with him. And then after him, we'll move to our police department with Chief Russo and Candy Terry. Riley, Chief, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks, Mayor.
I can't hear you.
Up.
I don't see a mute on your screen, but we're not getting any sound.
Nothing at all. Hold on. Let me try.
There we go. We hear you.
You got me now?
Chief, yep, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm on the high school internet, so we'll see. And they probably barely let adults on here, let alone kids. So, no, thanks for letting me attend remotely. My daughter had her track banquet tonight, and as you shared, she graduates this Thursday, so it's pretty exciting for us. Yeah, so I appreciate the opportunity to do this. So I have our quarterly report for January 1st to March 31st for Unified Fire. So I'll walk through the stats real fast, and then when I finish, I should have an update on fireworks. So, so for that quarter, for those 3 months, we had a total of 505 incidents. 129 were classified as emergent. So just a reminder, lights and sirens from the dispatch, just the initial details, which equaled 39% of those calls. When I look back at both the quarters of the last 2 years, as well as the monthly totals, it's kind of in line with what we tend to see in Cottonwood Heights. So no significant increase or real decrease. So we're kind of on average for those. Our most common call types for that quarter, 3 outside fires. Rubbish fires are usually trash can or dumpster fire, 2 structure fires, 1 vehicle fire, and just a variety of our EMS calls. I don't know why sick person's on there twice. I'll look at that and see, and then just our top service calls. Public service assistance is generally anything that our crews will show up to and assist the public, whether it's opening a locked door. Sometimes it could be changing batteries in a smoke detector, or just providing any kind of assistance that's outside of kind of our normal calls, which is a false alarm or any of these medical or fire calls. Again, one number I remind you that we like to pay attention to is just how much our units in Cottonwood Heights are doing. And so right here it shows they're covering about 90% of the call volume. So our engine up at 116, as well as the ladder at 110. And then Midville at 126, they're just off of almost 800 East there, Fort Union. They'll typically, just because of AVL, respond into that western part of Cottonwood Heights. So with that, pretty normal call volume and response from our units. The ambulance, I say we have the ambulance at 110, so they again cover a majority of the calls, and the next one would be Midvale, so 126. And then 116, if you remember, that's our peak load ambulance. So they help take the load off of our valley ambulances by running the two canyons. So they respond to the majority of the 911 calls up in the canyons. And sometimes when they can, they'll pick up a few calls in Cottonwood Heights itself. So, but having that ambulance does take the kind of workload off of the ambulances in the valley. And they went out of service about 3 weeks ago. And then we're looking at staffing them off and on. We have a lot of new firefighters coming out to the field. And so this ambulance will likely maintain some staffing through the late spring into the summer. And so that usually isn't staffed, but we'll look at doing that here just because of our heavy staffing. But they had a total of 395 responses with ambulances. Our response time, so this basically is from when the tones go off, the crew goes en route and arrives. 50th percentile is 453, which is really good. I want to look back at the previous quarters, but anything under 5 minutes, especially in an urban area with the traffic and congestion, that's a really good response time. And then the 9th percentile I know has dropped as well, 722. So it's awesome to see that as well. Our crews are definitely getting the calls quickly and safely. And we made a administrative decision. So we usually have a heat map and a scatter plot map. Our attorney's looking at that just for some data things that they worry sometimes that shows too much information. So we're looking at another way that we can share that type of information to the council. So with that, are there any questions on the quarterly reports?
I don't think so, Chief. But I think we're interested in the fireworks. So
Okay, so based off of the conversation we had last year, and I met and talked with Jared, we decided to keep the map the same. We had very few problems last year, and also very few complaints or concerns shared. The ones that I do get or do see, I'll visit with those people individually, make sure that we address any concerns they have. Obviously, as the fire service and as the representative for UFA in Cottonwood Heights, we're always going to advocate for, restrictions and safe use of fireworks if we choose to use those. But based off of last year's restrictions and the success we seem to have, we left them as is. We do have the ability to make last minute restrictions if environmental conditions change. So if we get into June and we start feeling a little uneasy or uncomfortable with the weather conditions, we can definitely make last minute changes to that. But as of right now, with where things are at and the weather and kind of the early season forecast for the summer, I have confidence that the restrictions we have in place are adequate, and we'll pay close attention in the meantime. And if I see anything that changes, I'll bring that to the attention of you all and Jared, and we can make a decision on how we want to approach that. But as of now, like I say, I feel pretty good about what we have. And if anything comes in, any concerns, we'll definitely address those with each person who has those. So,
thanks, Chief. Could I ask you a question? So, do you consider, or have you evaluated the current situation as far as dryness? Is it pretty normal? Are we wetter than normal, drier than normal?
I would say we're about average, even from just my experience, and it's by no means scientific, but what I'm seeing, and especially with this last weekend's weather and lower temperatures than I think we usually have this time of year going into June, I think we're definitely in a good space as far as fuel moistures go, and everything is really green right now. I mean, stuff is just growing back, and so we'd have to see some really drastic temperature changes. I mean, in my opinion, we're talking multiple days in the upper 90s to hundreds before the 4th of July to really get us in a vulnerable position. So I think what we need to worry about is the short-term weather that does come around those holidays. High temperatures and low humidities and winds. But leading up to that, from what I'm seeing, at least here in northern Utah, we're not having any huge concerns. But obviously that will change as we get into July and August with other things. So
Thanks, Chief. Appreciate that.
yeah, you bet. So thank you.
Enjoy wherever you are.
Yeah, I will. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to our next quarterly report from our police for Chief Russo and Candy.
That's for me. I want you to know I was prepared to do the fire department report for him, an event that his mic failed, but
Let me get this off. Okay, I think we're good. Okay. All right, so for calls for service for April of 2025, we had 1,161. As you can see, it is down from April of 2024.
Seems like that's down a lot.
Back. 1528. I don't.
400 go. Oh,
yeah,
not quite.
it's significant for us, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, response times for priority 1 for officer arrival time, they're at 4 minutes and 27 seconds. For priority 2, they are 5 minutes and 33 seconds, and priority 3, they are 6 minutes and 18 seconds.
And so you understand, we measure ours a little differently. The fire department, they measure it from the time they leave the fire station and arrive on scene. When you hit the 911 system for the police and dial 911, the clock is ticking for us. So that includes the interrogation time of the dispatcher. So that's really pretty remarkable.
Okay, here's our overall crime statistics. We did have 4 assault, 4 burglary, 30 thefts, 5 stolen vehicles with a total of 43. And so it does compare to last year at this time as well with 45. So we were just 2 down. Here's our arrests. We had 43 this year in April, and we did have 60 last year in April. But down in arrests are not always a terrible thing either. Okay, traffic citations. We had 269, 143 warnings, and 4 DUIs for the month of April. And then here is our traffic citations for the last 4 months. As you can see, they are pretty much staying steady and in line with, they are up from last year as well. Here's our accidents. We had 18 property damage accidents last month and 7 injury. And as you can see, they've just come down from 2023, 2024 up to this year.
And the question I get a lot is with the implementation of the traffic unit, is there a quantifiable difference in accident rates? You saw the tickets were up a little bit, and that corresponds with their work. But since we activated that unit, you'll see that the accident rate is trending in the right direction. So that's a good thing.
And Chief,
Right. And then the orange is injury accidents.
What's an example of a property damage accident?
Anytime that someone is not injured. So a fender bender.
Everything from okay.
Yeah.
Correct.
And injury separate. A year ago. So last April, we had one fatality.
Hey, Chief, I want to do a quick plug. That something a couple weeks ago, I don't remember, Chief, that DUI that was right by my house. Well, that was stopped, I guess. But it was pretty amazing. I reached out to the chief because there was a couple officers that had pulled somebody over in a truck, honestly, 2 homes away from my home. And I asked, and he said, that's a pretty powerful thing you don't see often, is where individuals are stopping someone before a DUI takes place and just having them out on the street. So it was that's a pretty real example of trying to get someone off the street before something awful happens, even a simple accident or fender bender or whatever, or worse. So thanks for that.
Well, thank you. And
There was
In 2024 calendar year, there was only one fatality.
one fatality accident. And
Well, there was one, I mean, I know of one pedestrian, there was a fatality as a pedestrian. So was that the only vehicular-related fatality in all of Cottonwood Heights in all of 2024?
yes, and we had none in 2023.
And none so far this year? Okay, I mean, nobody wants fatalities, but I'm just wanting to make sure that, because I've been, I would like to have a little, a bit more robust information, on where and anyways, that's part of the 6 pieces of safe systems approach, is that there's post crash data considerations. And so as we think about whether we are going to do this a little bit more methodically as a city, I really urge the council to, again, look at the safe systems approach, which suggests that there is really thorough post-crash information.
okay, so to your question, I can get these out to you a little earlier, and we'll push them to all of the council members, unless you don't see any issue with that, right? Or do you? Okay, I'll get it to you as soon as I can. And thank you for the compliment. I know there was some thought that maybe we staged that right before the budget talks, and so we pulled somebody over in front of your house to
I made that
demonstrate.
joke and I said, is that an actor? Is that a paid actor? Because that was too close to my house. But it really drove things home, saying, wow, I mean, my kids easily, I mean, that's the same place they walk home from school. Easily could have gotten hit by this individual.
Well, DUIs and
awful.
proactive DUI enforcement is important to us. When we took over from the county 18 years ago, if you look at the stats, every DUI arrest that they had, and the only DUI arrests they had for the previous years, were after they responded to an accident scene where someone was dead, hurt, or there was property damage. So they didn't get any proactive ones, none. And so it's hard to quantify what did we prevent, right? But I think that's what you were saying, and for sure we are. We don't know what that number is, but obviously it's important. And if it's your family, you want to feel like you can send your kids out to that graduation or wherever and know that they're coming back and that they're safe. And yeah, we only had one fatality in 3 years, and we're pretty proud of that. And it's due, I think, to the hard work of the men and women who are doing the proactive patrol. So thank you.
Okay, so code enforcement and animal control, we are in the process of training a new employee. So calls were down, stats were down a little bit, but they will be back up next month.
What's your biggest complaint you get with animal control calls? That just lost dog, off leash? What's the nature?
We get a lot of barking dogs. We get some off leash, but the majority of the calls the last month have been barking dogs. So officers go out on those as well.
What do you do? Just
They go
say
to the house and see if they can hear the dog. If they can, they approach the house and see if the owner can quiet the animal up. I mean,
And we try to mitigate. We sometimes people don't understand what's available to them. There are bark collars and things that we can offer to help them with. But you know, we try a soft approach first, and then eventually, if we need to, we cite them. But the barking dog and trying to prove the case in court would require some videotaping and stuff as well. So it takes a little longer than one might think it does. Off leash calls are pretty prevalent, and so we don't get all of them. What they normally do is call you and complain that they see it instead of calling us. But it is an issue, especially like in you know, the parks and so forth. So it's important. And
I'm just curious because my neighborhood is off leash central, I think, for the city. It's,
yeah,
just wondered if you got.
is it more on weekends?
No, it's all the time.
Okay.
But, you know, just wondering how many calls you get, if it really bothers people or it doesn't. So,
Well, they're not as many as you'd think. People will complain about it, but we don't actually get the call sent through dispatch.
Well, and I also want to commend your enforcement crew because in my dealing with this a few years ago, they were so great about giving me the options when I reported my neighbor of, you know, how it could be handled. And it was handled so well, and there was not a citation written, but like you said, the educational information that was given, I was able to remain anonymous, and the whole thing got cleaned up and cleared up, and it was handled so well. I really commend your crew on that. It's great.
Thank you.
here are the 3 months in review for all of our calls for service, UCR, arrests, citations, warnings, DUIs, and accidents. Here's a heat map of the property crimes for April. As you can see, Target and Home Depot, that's where our majority are. District 1, 2, 3, 4. This is where all the citations were issued. We did finish up our 10-week Citizens Academy a few weeks ago. It was a wonderful time. We did have several citizens come in and enjoy the academy. Here's just a few photos from it, from the AG's office, and the drunk goggles that we have, them trying to drive the golf cart. And our graduation picture. Oh, sorry, let me go back. And then we did have Assistant Chief Brenneman attend a post-recruitment day for officers out at Post. And because a lot of agencies throughout the valley are down officers and recruiting has been very difficult, so they were out there trying to see if they could get some recruiting and get people to join law enforcement. Our K-9 division had a demonstration over at the Brighton High School on the football field. This is a wonderful picture of our K-9 unit. Motorcycle Safety Month. I know most of you have probably heard that we've already had several motorcyclists hit on our highways, streets in the last couple of weeks. Share the road, just make sure you're looking out for them. It's warmer weather, so everybody's going to be out and about. Any questions?
Can I add a couple things?
Yeah.
So in addition to the motorcycles, you were good enough to help me pass an ordinance that had to do with the scooters. That's a problem. The e-bikes are still an issue. The state does have a statute that addresses a lot of that. We actually had an accident today involving, I believe, it 12, 12-year-old. But they're riding when they're not supposed to be riding. So we're going to be doing more enforcement and trying to, get them where they need to be and do education and prevent them from from getting hurt, or at least come into compliance or use safety equipment and so forth. The heat map issue is actually a real deal. We're pretty careful about not drilling down too far. The reason being, if you see like a police car in your neighborhood, and I wonder what they're doing, and later on you see, you know, oh, if they had some rapes in the area, then you can put the dots together, connect the dots, and that would be an unfair intrusion upon people's privacy. So we're pretty general about that. A lot of times we're asked to, you know, be more specific, but the reason we're so general is for that reason. An update with the Canyons School District. We met today. The Guardian program that the legislature has and Representative Wilcox has enacted will be taking or going into effect on the next school year. So the Guardians will be in place. We did make some proposals to them about what we think this city could do to enhance that program. Obviously, it's a big number budget item. I don't know that they're going to get to it this year, but I can assure you that by next fall that they will have Guardians in place, and we've agreed to and offered actually to train their people and help them become certified and proficient with firearms and things that they'll need to accomplish the task that's so important that we hope they never use. So with those add-ons, any questions?
Well, I did want to make sure that I represented the many comments that I'm getting from constituents. As the weather warms, the noise of the racing motorcycles, whether they're hogs or bullet bikes, the unmuffled cars, often until 2 or 3 in the morning. It's a real problem along SR 210 south of Bengal Boulevard, all the way to the boundaries of our city. And I hope that whenever you can deploy, especially on Friday and Saturday nights, it's almost intolerable. So if there's any chance that you can deploy some of your traffic officers during those afternoons and evenings, it's just even any kind of presence, I think would help to quell some of the activity. I'd love to hear your thoughts on because I can't, you know, without a gun to watch them go by and monitor their speeds. I don't know how much is related to speeding and how much is just sheer decibel levels. It seems to me they are racing, but, you know, without going down and filming it, I can't tell you exactly, but residents are telling me, you know, Councilmember Burrell, can't you do something about this? So I'm just passing that along.
Yeah, well, I think Councilman Newell had a great idea. I'm going to get some cardboard cutouts and paint them and put them all over the city strategically and give them it's a device. We try not to use the word gun when pointing at cars, but yeah, no, I understand, and you're right, and we have that problem all over the city. And when the summer comes, sometimes also, just so you know, when the noise is elevated, the perception of the speed can be a little deceiving. You know, so it seems like they're going faster than they are, but nevertheless, the noise is annoying, and so we will try to be all over. I'm glad the traffic unit will be, you know, they'll have more availability because they're not doing the tire checks, so we can get them out when we need them. So
that would be very helpful, and I know very appreciated by my constituents. Thank you.
Of course. Any others?
I just want to say thanks again for doing the Citizen Academy. I know that's a lot of time and resources for your department, but it's one of my favorite things to go to that graduation and see the people that have interacted with our officers and learn what you guys do on a daily basis. And it's you know, we had our arts chair, Lara Garcia, participate this year, and it's a really awesome program, and I'm grateful that our citizens take advantage of it. And thanks for doing it.
Well, thank you. The officers just do that all on their own. They sign up for it. They look forward to it. They like giving, you know, the citizens. We have good people here, and they like giving them a glimpse into their souls and what they do, and they develop a bond with that community. And we get some really good feedback from that. But keep in mind, the number one favorite event is the Autism Barbecue. That's not so far off. I'll give you a save the date when I get one, and please come. But thank you for the accolades.
Chief, what are our vacancies that we got right now in officers? Are we staffed up?
I
Short
am
some.
Well, thanks for asking. We are extending an offer or at least interviewing some people this week, and that should bring me fully staffed. But, we anticipate a couple retirements in the next couple months, so I have to prepare for those. So I've been working with Miss Barbara to, we think what we want to do is get a couple academy staff people, and I talked to Mr. Turgis, and we're in the process of testing now. The idea is that we're getting some young kids that we can train the way we want to with our culture and, infuse them into the department and hopefully keep them for a long time. But it takes 9 months from the point I start hiring them till they get to the academy through FTO. It's a minute. So, but yeah, we anticipate that. So yes, to your question, I'll be fully staffed in a week.
We're going to have a party for Paul.
Do I have what?
A party planned for Paul.
Paul, thank you. Yes, of course we will. I'll let you know.
I imagine that was one of the retirements you're talking about. Yeah.
Yes, sir, it was. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, well, we're going to move on. Item 7 on our agenda, we have 4 legislative action items for the council to consider tonight. We're going to start with 7.1, consideration of ordinance 440, approving Creek Road West annexation and imposing temporary zoning regulations. We had the opportunity to talk about this item earlier in our work session. Any other comments or questions from the council? I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance 440, approving Creek Road West annexation and imposing temporary zoning regulations.
I'll take the privilege of making the motion, and I know with gratitude from the citizens, it was a long haul. There was extra steps that we weren't anticipating. And so I'd like to motion that we approve ordinance 440 to approve the Creek Road West annexation.
I will second that motion.
Motion to approve from Councilmember Highland and a second from Councilmember Holton. Final comments? Call for the vote. Councilmember Holton.
Yes.
Councilmember Highland.
Yes.
Councilmember Newell.
Yes.
Councilmember Burrell.
Yes.
And I will vote yes. Item 7.2, consideration of resolution 2025-36, appointing a member of the Health in the Heights Advisory Committee. We talked about this earlier. We're excited to appoint Diane Foster Burke. Any other questions or comments from the council? Entertain a motion to approve resolution 2025-36, appointing a member of the Health in the Heights Advisory Committee.
I'd like to motion that we pass resolution 2025-36. And I'm delighted that my constituent Diane Foster Burke is being advanced on to Health in the Heights.
I'll second.
Motion to approve from Councilmember Burrell and a second from Councilmember Newell. Final comments. Call for the vote. Councilmember Highland.
Yes.
Councilmember Newell.
Yes.
Councilmember Burrell.
Yes.
Councilmember Holton.
Yes.
I will vote yes. Item 7.3, consideration of resolution 2025-37, approving a performance contract and addendum for the 2025 holiday show for Butlerville Days. We also discussed this item earlier in our work session. Any other questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, I'll entertain motion to approve resolution 2025-37, approving a performance contract and addendum for the 2025 holiday show.
I'll make the motion to approve resolution 2025-37.
I'll second.
Motion to approve from Councilmember Newell and a second from Councilmember Highland. Final comments. Call for the vote. Councilmember Newell.
Yes.
Councilmember Burrell.
Yes.
Councilmember Holton.
Yes.
Councilmember Highland.
Yes.
And I will vote yes. The last action item for tonight is consideration of resolution, item 7.4, consideration of resolution 2025-38, approving and ratifying a second amended interlocal agreement with the city's CDRA for the Canyon Center project area. We also discussed this earlier. Any other questions or comments from the council? And then I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution 2025-38, approving and ratifying a second amended interlocal agreement with the city's CDRA for the Canyon Center project area.
Motion to approve resolution 2025-38.
I'll second.
A motion to approve from Councilmember Holton and a second from Councilmember Newell. Final comments? Call for the vote. Councilmember Burrell.
Yes.
Councilmember Holton.
Yes.
Councilmember Highland.
Yes.
Councilmember Newell.
Yes.
And I will vote yes. The last agenda item for tonight is approval of our consent calendar, which is the approval of the minutes for our city council work session and business meetings on May 6th. Got to get a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll motion to approve the consent calendar for May 6, 2025.
Second.
Motion to approve and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Got to get a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.